how's it going? Mario, we got Zendoka, we got Lazy Pianist in here. Let's go, let's go. I was all right. How was your sleep? Well, you didn't sleep. You were in the middle of the day, I forgot. You're planning to buy a new keyboard? What do you recommend? Hey, Roy, how you doing? Moonlight Sonata 3, what, this thing? That thing, you're planning to buy a new keyboard. What do you want to buy? Had back-to-back meetings for some projects? Gotcha. Homework and then sleep? Yep, good plan. What I would say in terms of buying a keyboard is make a list of the features that you really, really care about. But I would say the top features to care about on a keyboard is going to be weighted action. So whether the keys have resistance, right? Then, yeah, we'll take requests, Kyle. What do you want to hear? Weighted keys, very high up feature. The second that I would say that's really, really important is going to be how many keys you have, right? The weight is a really important feature. And then the sounds, all right? Not really working right now with, yeah, I would say that. I was gonna ask how safe does it feel over there? Because that seems insane. How am I doing? I'm doing all right. Just trying to figure out what this year is going to look like. Which it's already March, so. In terms of just blank, tell me what you want to buy. I think a Roland FP10 is really good value. Raining tacos, we can do that. Could I attempt to play a song that you wrote? You pick some notation in the request channel on your Discord. The song is called Blood Nebula. Sure. We'll plow through all of these. I can't speak, which is good because I can play. Birds of a feather, we'll get to all these in a second. And then we go to this part. Okay, let's get into the different things. It's raining tacos. It's safe here. We have the best defense, air defense in the world. Well, that's good. But that's still crazy. You want to get a new keyboard because you've had the neck. Yeah. FP10 and my BJ Novak from the office. You caught me. You totally caught me. All right. Let me pull up the chart from music requests. Song request? Blood Nebula. All right, we've got it. Oh, you know, I probably should pay attention to the key. I am sorry for not paying attention to the key. Ah, okay. You could have written this a little bit easier to read than this, by the way. I do like this, though. That's fun. You don't think I'll be able to play it fully? What are you talking about? This is not that hard. Okay, so this is what I would say. You're onto something. For my taste, it's too repetitive and the key needs to be cleaned up. What do I mean by that? I would say it's probably easier to write this in E flat minor than it is to write it in B flat major. But very, very cool. Any tips on composing music? I would say in general, yeah, no problem, Kyle. Is that you wake up in the middle of the night, you have to walk downstairs in the shelter? Gotcha. Just in harmonic minor. It was... Yeah, no problem, Cash. That was not really in harmonic minor, so it was written in D sharp minor. So it's D sharp minor, then C sharp 7, C sharp, right? Then B, and then B flat. Please sponsor you? What am I supposed to sponsor you in? I'm gonna play a little bit of Birds of a Feather. Do Her. We could do that at some point. Is piano mathematic in any way? In every way. Yes, let me give you tips and then we'll do Birds of a Feather. So, composition tips. The first thing I'd say is always be a student of other things. So let's listen to Birds of a Feather for a second. Oop, I forgot to, I'm gonna pin the Zendoka message. Thanks, Zendoka, by the way. I'm doing fine, how are you doing? I would say it's probably easier to read in E flat minor than B flat, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you just have to switch over to B flat. It's really uncomfortable to read an A sharp major chord. I just don't ever really see an A sharp major chord. That's just not a typical thing that I see. But it's a hard place to do. So, all right, we're in D major for Birds of a Feather, and it's mainly this back and forth da ba 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 dee ba ba ya ba da ba da, right? So what if we take that idea, Moonlight Sonata? We can do that in a second. What if we take that idea and maybe let's actually start it in minor? So how about we go to C minor? And then we're going to keep this the same way that it works in Birds of a Feather. We're going to keep that going while we move to other things. Do you see how that works, lazy pianist? That would be, I would say, one of the most straightforward and most powerful ways to think about composing, is doing that. You yesterday learned a Chopin nocturne? Very cool. So you can do this with anything. You could take Moonlight Sonata, you could put it here, right? All sorts of things. Do I know how to play Rush E? We could do it. Sirab horn, Pat Metheny, golden brown. What, this thing? Oops, sorry. Man, I cannot read. Totally D major. Here we go. man, yeah, Bright Size Life, yeah. Bright Size Life, though, is I think a lot higher rated in terms of people's ideas. Man, Pat Metheny is so good. You made a short of you playing Fantasy Impromptu. I can look at it at some point. This is so calming. Oh, good. Moonlight Sonata. All right, we'll do Moonlight Sonata. We'll do a nice long. Any Chet Baker? We can do Chet Baker. Monsters. E flat minor. You could try what it, just see what it looks like in E flat minor and see if you like it better. Or the other way to do it is just write, no, I don't like that at all. You could write the A sharp major chord as a B flat major, but that'd look really weird. Is a $21 sustained pedal good? Probably not good, but will it work? Probably. Thanks, TikTok. I like how your name is TikTok. I look like Zuckerberg? You're the first person ever to say that. Animal Crossing jalapeno peppers? Sure. You think Beethoven went deaf? I don't think he went totally deaf. With the A sharp major as a B flat major because you like the key it's currently in? All right, just mess around with it. It's really not that awful to read. Can't support keyism. The Kronos. Your piece would like to have a word with you, Kyle. Your piece supports keyism. I hate to tell you. I mean, the Kronos is really nice. Thank you, Abby. Let's do Animal Crossing, 7 p.m. And then where are we at? What Chet Baker do you want? Almost. My Funny Valentine sounds good to me. I mean, it'll sound the exact same in E flat minor. It's the same key. It's just what it looks like. I gotta sing it though. Okay. All right, well, let's see if I can find one with the lyrics then. All right. Let's do it. Just for you. My funny Valentine, sweet comic Valentine, you make me smile with my heart. You looks are laughable, unphotographable, yet you're my favorite work of art. Is your figure less than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak when you open it to speak? Are you smart? That line always cracks me up. What a different time. But don't change a hair for me. Not if you care for me. Stay, little Valentine, stay. Each day is Valentine's Day. Thanks. How can I turn any song into a samba? Well, what you do is you start out with the rhythm. Well, yeah, so the difference between bossa nova and samba, jalapeno peppers. I hate to make you feel less special, but I'm live streaming to YouTube and TikTok at the same time. Yes, it does sound like a bossa nova too, but I would just play it a little bit faster and keep the harmony a little simpler, and they'll sound more samba than bossa nova. They're very related. They're very, very related. You're good. I appreciate that. Don't Stare Into Your Soul too late. Can't you play song Golden Brown? What, this song? You don't like My Funny Valentine? It's not my favorite standard either, if I'm being honest. It's really overplayed. It's kind of like the new Autumn Leaves. I could see that. It's Always You. You know which one ballad I really like a lot? Prelude to a Kiss. Peru. This is my answer for any music that is a different culture than like you originate from, if you will. I would say spend a lot of time playing along with that style of music and try to absorb the elements that you go, oh, I only really hear people do this and win that. All right, 21 Savage bank account. Let's see about this. Wow, those are terrible versions of it. I wonder. Oh, here we go. I do not have perfect pitch. We were at 18 likes and now we got 13 likes. It happens. X-Files. All right. I'll see you, Roy. Can I play any Steely Dan? I used to play in a Steely Dan cover band. Hold on 2 seconds, everybody. I gotta take this sweater off. I'm getting too warm. Yeah, I used to play in a Steely Dan cover band. The Office. I know it's not the X-Files. Hey man, how you doing? Start disliking everyone? There you go. Exactly. Haven't using your phone? That's probably a good thing. 88 stars. Literally, my job would be so much harder if everyone stopped using their phones, but I'm totally fine with everyone not using their phones. Project Sakai. All right, I found music for it. Kyle, I will say, your song was really nice. I feel like I went straight to saying a few things to more critical stuff. So I do want to lead off by saying it was I like the nugget in there, and there's a lot of cool things about it. So anyway, I have a bad habit of jumping straight to listing off a bunch of things. All of Me? Sure, we can do All of Me. Paso Bim Solto. Oh, wouldn't you know? Sure. appreciate it. Let's see. What didn't you know? You're looking for didn't you know? And it's minor. No, I do not have perfect pitch. I have good relative pitch, and then I use music. Which Hungarian Rhapsody? You know, there's 19 of them. No problem, Zendoka. Any chance that you come on, I appreciate you. You're great. Avatar something. I think I'm just sight reading. Yes, that's generally what I'm doing, is sight reading. Rooftops, oh man. I remember when Rooftops came out because I was so sad. Because I knew Lost Prophets before they did Rooftops, and they were like a really pretty hardcore band. And then they did Rooftops, and I'm like, ugh, they sold out. All right, you're back. Awesome. That's not the right song. That's totally a completely different Rooftops. That's hilarious. The Burger King song? What? Whopper, Whopper. All right. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play some pretty classical music. We're going to play some Reverie by... Sight reading is impressive. I appreciate that. Dude, you got a Cybertruck? I know. Isn't that amazing? Don't forget the 1982 Mustang. Your mom was a pianist? Awesome. Professionally or just like on the side? Display is so fire. Is it good or bad that I don't know the Burger King song? Probably good. That is probably a good thing. We had pianos forever? Nice. Happy homes have pianos. More classical? We can do more classical. play majorly by ear, so it can be a struggle to decipher by sight. She loved it so much, she was really good. Awesome. I will say that's a big key to getting good at music. Tips to getting rid of tension in the shoulders. Yeah, I can give you some tips on that. We're almost done with this piece. And then let me give you some tips on that. I struggled with a lot of tension in my shoulders when I was younger. Sounds like an old gospel hymn. Yeah, WC's got a little bit of that vibe. A lot of people think of classical being in a world completely different than pop music. They're wrong. What happened is a lot of people would hear this. Not a lot of people, but like gospel guys, whoever, and then they would take elements of this into their music. Play something I like, I just did. A music nerd, changing the way you wear your backpack, improve posture, and the chair you sit in, reduce stress. Man, Zendoka is just nailing all the things that I would say. I feel like I stopped diving into classical pieces once I stopped lessons. Yep, that's pretty normal. Okay, let's talk shoulder tension. First of all, let's talk the why, okay? I've thought about this a lot because I've taught a lot of music lessons and I've played a lot of piano. Why? Why are you tensing up? Typically, it's either stress and tension generally manifesting themselves in a specific part of your body, okay? Bad posture, yep. And so a lot of it is like these unintended habits and just kind of tension and stress from the day. Think about it like bad posture is kind of a physical version of like this bad habit of just like not thinking through things, whatever. But a lot of it actually comes from basically life is stressful, right? And playing piano can be definitely tension filling. And so then when you're playing, the tension exists and then it goes somewhere. And if you think about your body, if you were tense in your wrist, you would get pain like that. It would be very fast and very debilitating. Stress will definitely give you more tension. 100% stress will give you more tension. You think music is stressful? Playing music can definitely be stressful. Carpal tunnel type pains, exactly. If you had tension in your finger, instant pain, right? If you have tension in your forearm, it takes a little bit longer. Why does it take a little bit longer? Because the muscles here are a lot bigger than like the muscles and pathway here. By the time you get to your elbow, it takes even longer. Then when you get into your arm up here, your upper arm, your shoulder, you can be cooking that sucker for weeks And you're gonna actually be okay, all right? This is why so many people, so many pianists, so many guitarists have tension in their shoulder and in their back. Ironically, it's not because they're weak, it's actually because they're strong, but yes, back and head positioning as well, for sure. Because let's say your head's forward, check how you're holding your phone as well with this. If your head's forward, it's going to be pulling all the time on your neck, on your shoulders, on your back. Anyway, what is all of this that I'm saying about? I think you need to be aware of your body, constantly checking in on your body, okay? Do some shoulder rolls. Do a little bit of this. I had a teacher that would just have me throw my arms around like this, right? Try to pick up your arm, try to drop it, see if it just drops, or whether when you pick it up, whether it just stays in place. If it stays in place or it drops slowly, that means you're holding on to all that weight. You're not letting it go. And that's going to, again, cause tension. Imagine this, gravity lets you just play the piano. But if you don't let it, it's just gonna stay right there. But that's tension, right? You're holding your hand up. And all of that stuff adds up over time. Do yoga? Yeah. It's mainly shoulders and back. You've fixed your wrist tension. Music nerd, you're fighting the good fight. That is a very common way to progress in piano playing. You start out and your fingers are like this. So then you fix your fingers and now they're resting on the piano and now your wrist is tight. And then you fix that and now your elbow is tight. And then you fix that and now it's your shoulders. And guess what happens after you fix that? Now your mouth has tension. That's actually probably still my biggest problem, unaddressed, is my mouth actually gets tense. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is still problematic. Any unproductive, actually less, not less like trying to hold it like that, but more just, more like tensing slightly open like this. I know it's kind of weird. What I would say though, what happens with tension, exactly, relax. What I would say in general is tension is required to some extent to play the piano, right? Your muscles actually have to engage to push down the note. But the problem is we have unproductive tension. Pause. Yes. We have unproductive tension, right? So for example, here's a big one. If you look right now, do you see how my shoulders kind of create this line coming down? A lot of people when they play piano, their shoulders look like this. If you do that, you're effectively constantly engaging those shoulder muscles for no good reason. Like a lot of people when they pick their hand up to the piano, watch what happens with the shoulder right here, okay? I'm gonna try to keep both shoulders down so you see. That's literally how they approach the piano. Look at that. You see that? That's literally, like, I've taught so many piano students, it's like, okay, all right, go to play the piano, and they go. You're cooked at that point. Like, 30 minutes of practice, 45 minutes of practice, it's like you basically did a bunch of shoulder shrugs. I mean, maybe you're gonna be developing massive traps. Throwing the mic around. Maybe you'll develop massive traps, but you're not going to be able to play without a lot of tension. Like that's the issue there. Keyboard are more common than actual pianos. That causes some of the issues because the thing with keyboard is it's easier to play. Run away, Mike. I know, seriously. It's easier to play keyboard, which inadvertently, ironically enough, causes more issues down the line because piano is a very unforgiving instrument if you practice for a while, right? And again, this one's weighted, but it's still easier to play than a piano. Almost all of them are. You love playing piano? Me too. Yeah, so that tension difficulty, it's not avoidable, but you can work on sort of limiting it. Keyboards don't even have pedals, which naturally relaxes the body. I'm not a huge fan of pedals, to be honest. I have one on this keyboard, but even on piano, I kid with my students sometimes that I'm gonna just cut their leg off if they keep using the pedal, because pedal is a good way to develop lazy fingers. Pianofortes were easier to play as well, so Czerny had it easier. Yes, that music nerd, you are preaching to the choir. That is one of these huge things. Sustained damper isn't the same difference. So you have the sustain pedal, which is the actually useful one, but it causes, oh, you're fine. Ritz, what I'm saying is the pedal, so the sustain pedal, right? Because the soft pedal is kind of a joke, and the sostenuto pedal is really niche to grand pianos, and then the apartment pedal is kind of a weird gimmick on uprights. So we're just talking about the sustain pedal. That pedal is going to help develop bad technique because you're not going to be actually using your fingers to connect notes. You practice on a weighted keyboard, and when I play for longer periods, I feel like I might get carpal tunnel. Okay, let me help you out here. I get that. I totally get that feeling. So this is what you're going to want to do, all right? What I want you to do is, first of all, practice range of motion with your wrists, okay? Practice going up all the way, practice going down all the way, side to side. And then what I want you to do, Zendoka, and anyone else listening, if you're feeling that tension in your wrists, do some wrist circles, right? And then what I want you to do, make sure everything's lined up, right? You don't want to be approaching, especially this direction. This is super problematic. This is less problematic, but isn't necessarily ideal, right? You want this neutral wrist. And then what you're going to do is you're going to drop. You're going to drop the finger down. And what you want to do when you drop that finger down is you want to be nice and light with it. I would actually recommend, Zendoka, do this easy change when you're on a keyboard. Here's one of the big issues with a keyboard versus a piano. The volume can be anywhere you want, right? So I could put my volume down here, and then it would feel like I need to play like this, right? JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, yeah. So it feels like I really have to hit the piano because it's super quiet on my main volume. Instead, let's say I crank the volume. Right, now I can basically barely touch the key and it's super loud. Will this fix all your problems? No, it won't, but it will start helping because a lot of that tension, what's happening is you're basically, when you start to get especially that sharp pain in the wrist, it's coming from two places. The first is you're holding your wrist stiff. You're kind of like bracing, right? A lot of piano tension is you're bracing because you're trying to control your hand being in the right place, your fingers being in the right place. That is the wrong approach to playing the piano. It's not about trying to force your hand to be in the right place. It's actually about letting go and trusting your hand to be in the right place. So that's the first part. The second part is, soft pedal can be amazing though. Yes, I agree. I'm speaking in hyperbole, a music nerd. Speaking in hyperbole for sure. Are exaggerated arm movements good for getting rid of tension? Yes, but the unintended consequence is your playing will become very inefficient. And if you look, it's fascinating because we have this debate writ large in piano culture. And my favorite example is you have, who was it? There were two virtuosos at the same time. I think it was List and one other guy. Oh man, I can't remember. Anyway, this debate has gone on for a while. And this is what I will say. If you just cornered me and were like, hey, choose one. You either can play with really big arm motions and less tension, or you can play really neat finger technique and more tension. I would say pick the big arm motions. But we don't have to make that choice. It turns out you can play very efficiently and still get rid of tension. The reason why the big arm movements help with tension is because you're keeping everything loose and relaxed, and you're engaging bigger muscles when you need to play louder, which is a good thing to do, right? You don't have to try to play forte from your fingertips, although you can. And if you watch the guys who are blazing fast, they tend to always have that archetype of being able to play really, really loud just from their fingertips. A lot of, like, two people that I would recommend watching recordings of, like watching videos of, and just marveling at how they get the sound they get is Michel Camille, the jazz pianist, and then Richter, Sviatoslav Richter. It's mind-blowing. It's wild. You will get so much out of watching them. This pedal throws me off so much in Chopin waltzes because there's so many nice voices that get drained in the pedal if you're not careful. Agreed. You're giving lessons to a 15-year-old. She likes the 80s songs. Who doesn't? I mean, I didn't for a while, but I grew older and then went, okay, that's okay. You ever listen to Open Studio podcasts on YouTube? I have not. I'll make a note. I'll check them out. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty terrible when it comes to music content. I don't really engage with music content, and it's probably because I've just spent so much of my life in this world that when I want to unplug, I go over to Magic the Gathering stuff, or I go over to politics or sports, or, well, not sports. I'm not a huge sports guy. I just read that over there. As a sports guy, I'm trying to force myself to consume it. Yeah, exactly. You're a new subscriber. Thanks, General Irwin. We're just doing a good old chat. We'll actually probably be off here soon. Closing time. Yeah, I'm gonna play an original that I wrote. That is not recorded yet. It's not recorded yet. You're doing your warm-up while watching this? That is the best thing to do while you're watching my stuff. But don't you find yourself drawn to recognize music relating things more, like when a background track is really boring? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not saying I don't consume music. I do consume a lot of music, but things talking about music, it's funny. I love to talk about music. I'm not going to seek out other people talking about music. Like media about music, yeah, less. Before you go, can you review my grandpa song called Ninhu Ngain, can you? Hold on, let's see. Noon Huli. Let's see if I can find this real quick. You may just have to find some way to get to me. How do you challenge your biases and perspectives then? That's a great question. Hanging out with other musicians, for the most part. Yeah. Also, I am 100% my worst critic. But no, you're totally right. This is one of the big issues with all hyper specialized environments. When you're living and breathing it, you don't necessarily engage with it the same as you do when you're a student. When I was your age, Zendoka, and I was in college, I was constantly consuming every book, every like avenue period that I could consume different ideas about music. And I still, by the way, people still send me things. So when I say I don't seek it out necessarily, but people send me things all the time. Like people will go, oh, what do you think about Jacob Collier talking about this, right? Or, and again, I stumble on it. I was watching, there's this guy, Sore Hands, he's a classical guitarist. He was talking about Marcin and all the tapping guitar stuff. So I followed that whole rabbit hole for a while. I'm just saying it's not the main thing. I probably consume more at a 5% basis of stuff like that than a lot of people do as a 100% basis. I consume so much information every week. It's probably bad for me at this point. But anyway, here's an original. Hey, Max. Yeah, join the Discord, music nerd. Held by the best of us, dangerous to question, favored by the queen and stuff. I know I would like to try again, my friend, again. Descend, and spend the last of good I have left. Anger doesn't mean that much, like it did when I was young, thinking might hurt enough. I know I would like to try again, my friend, again. Descend, and spend the last of good I have left. Was it the weight of that gold crown, or just a word you didn't say, that sent these walls all down, washed the brighter blues to gray? We chased a world that wasn't ours, story written, bought and sold, beneath the gaze of watchful towers. Our own grew weary, weak and old. So let me try again, my friend, before the final bitter end, before I break, before I bend and spend the last of good I have left. Thanks to Dr. Seuss, we have nerd as a word. I did not know that. We're just living in an era where there's so much info available that we get so saturated with it. Yes. The other thing that I didn't actually mention earlier, Zendoka, about getting opinions and absorbing new information about music is I have spent the last, 15 years of my life constantly gigging. And when you're gigging, I never had to listen to new songs. Because inevitably, I would get a set list sent to me, and it would be 70 songs, and out of the 70, 15 of them would be songs, 20 of them would be songs I've never heard of before, right? So a lot of that is a huge part of doing that. Interesting, very interesting. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Have a lovely, lovely rest of your day. See you later, Hannah. See you, Ritz. See you, Zendoka. See you, Max. See everybody. Until next time, peace out.